Imagine waking up tomorrow and hearing that a swarm of cheap drones had destroyed dozens of American aircraft. Not overseas, but here at home. Billions of dollars gone, our most advanced bombers in flames, a kind of modern day Pearl Harbor that does just as much impact to the US military. It sounds unthinkable, but just this summer, Ukraine pulled off exactly that kind of attack against Russia in an operation codenamed Spiderweb. And it's forcing US commanders to ask a sobering question. Could the same thing happen here? For me, this operation showcased more than anything I've seen in recent years just how much warfare has changed. This wasn't just another drone strike, it was proof that the rules of war have shifted and that every military power needs to catch up. Welcome to Learning Military, your source for clear insights into defense strategy, technology, and history. If you value deep dives like this one, hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and consider dropping a super thanks to support the research that makes these videos possible. Today, we're asking, can US bases survive a drone swarm? We'll break down Operation Spiderweb as a case study, explore which American bases are most vulnerable, look at the doctrine and legal hurdles around defending them, dive into the technology being fielded, and examine how the US is now training for the next Spiderweb style scenario. And finally, we'll talk about what it all means strategically and psychologically if the homeland is no longer secure. So with that, let's get into it. In June 2025, Ukraine launched the largest drone strike in history. The operation, known as Spiderweb, involved more than 100 small drones hidden inside disguised trucks. At a chosen moment, the trucks opened up and released swarms across multiple air bases deep inside Russian territory. The results were staggering. Ukraine claims dozens of aircraft were destroyed or damaged, including some of Russia's rarest long-range bombers. US officials later confirmed at least 20 aircraft were hit and about 10 destroyed. The financial loss alone may have reached $7 billion, and all of it was achieved with drones that cost just a fraction of what they destroyed. What made it work was simple but brilliant. The drones were smuggled in close, launched almost from inside the perimeter of these bases, and flew in overwhelming numbers. They didn't rely on GPS, which could be jammed. Some even used onboard AI to identify where to strike once they reached their targets. The lesson was clear: no base is too distant, too well defended, or too safe. For a minimal cost, Ukraine proved it could cripple Russia's strategic strike fleet. For the United States, that was a wake-up call. If an adversary attempted something like Spiderweb against America, some bases would be especially vulnerable. Think about where we concentrate high-value assets: strategic bombers, stealth aircraft, major naval hubs, critical command and control facilities. When you cluster assets like that, it creates tempting targets. A handful of drones costing maybe a few $1,000s each could inflict billions in damage and permanently reduce America's strike capability. That imbalance, cheap attackers versus priceless defenders, is what makes this so dangerous. It's no wonder military leaders now consider drones not just a nuisance on the battlefield, but a direct threat to the homeland. So what's the plan for defending American bases? Until recently, it wasn't clear. In 2024, the Pentagon formally designated US Northern Command as the lead organization for synchronizing homeland counter-drone operations. That means if a base is overwhelmed, Northern Command can surge portable counter-drone units, coordinate with civilian agencies, and take charge of a multi-layered defense. The Army's Joint Counter-Small UAS office also plays a major role. In March 2025, just months before Spiderweb, it partnered with RAND to run the largest wargame of its kind. They simulated swarms of drones attacking multiple bases at once and asked hard questions. When does Northern Command step in, and how do federal, state, and local authorities coordinate? The outcome of that exercise was new doctrine. Northern Command is expected to intervene when a swarm overwhelms local defenses, when multiple sites are hit at the same time, or when public confidence is at risk. In other words, almost exactly the conditions of Operation Spiderweb. But even the best doctrine doesn't mean much if commanders can't act. And here's where things get messy. Under US law, the military can't easily operate in a law enforcement role inside the homeland. Drones are legally classified as aircraft, which means shooting one down often falls in a gray area unless it's clearly hostile. That's why in 2023, when waves of drones buzzed an American base night after night, no action was taken. Commanders couldn't prove hostile intent, so aircraft had to be relocated instead. Imagine the frustration. You know drones are there, you know they're spying or probing your defenses, but your hands are tied. Congress has given the Pentagon limited authority under certain laws to act against drones over military sites, but it's inconsistent. Some commanders know they can use jammers or kinetic systems, others aren't sure. That hesitation could prove costly if dozens of drones suddenly appeared overhead. This legal gray zone may be one of the most dangerous vulnerabilities in our current defense posture. So what tools actually exist to stop drones? The Pentagon describes it as a layered defense. The first layer is detection, radars, cameras, and radio sensors scanning for drones as far out as possible. The second is electronic warfare, jammers and spoofers that can sever control links or confuse navigation. The third layer is directed energy, high-power microwave systems like Thor, which can disable drones in a single blast. And the last layer is kinetic, everything from machine guns to missiles to interceptor drones, some of which literally ram intruders out of the sky. The Marine Corps has already invested heavily in these technologies, awarding contracts for systems that combine radar towers, AI, software, and autonomous interceptors, and other services are following suit. It's an impressive lineup, but remember, Spiderweb drones launch from right outside the fence. Even the best radar only gives a minute or two of warning in that case, and that's not much time to decide, get legal approval, and react. It means automated systems and pre-approved rules of engagement will be critical in any real-world swarm attack. Now, for me, this is where the story gets interesting, and this shows the important shift happening right now. The US military is no longer treating Spiderweb as a one-off. It's rewriting its training and exercises around the idea that the next Spiderweb could happen here. That March 2025 wargame now looks prophetic. The very scenarios they tested, multiple bases under swarm attack, drones launching from civilian-looking vehicles, swarms that don't rely on GPS played out in Russia only a few months later. New drills are building on those lessons. Commanders are now forced to practice what happens when drones appear from inside the perimeter. They rehearse who takes the first shot, how to coordinate with local police searching for the operators, and how to handle the chaos of multiple sites under attack at once. When I read through these reports, what struck me the most was this: they're not planning for hypotheticals anymore, they're really planning for a spiderweb type of attack to happen here. So what happens if a spiderweb comes to America? Beyond the physical damage, the psychological impact would be enormous. The public assumes US bases are safe, and seeing billion-dollar aircraft destroyed on American soil would shatter that confidence overnight. It would also alter deterrence. The economics are flipped. Cheap drones destroying priceless assets undermine the traditional balance of power. Adversaries may see swarms as a way to neutralize America's technological edge without risking their own high-end forces. The military would face tough choices. Do we disperse our aircraft instead of concentrating them at a few big bases? Do we build hardened shelters like Cold War-era bunkers? Or do we keep bombers on alert, ready to launch at the first sign of trouble? Each choice carries its own risks. And then there's the information war. Even small drone incursions, like the mystery drones that hovered over American bases in recent years, can spark conspiracy theories and erode public trust. A real swarm strike would send shockwaves across the country. So, can US bases survive a drone swarm? The honest answer is not yet. America is making progress. Northern Command now has authority, layered defenses are being deployed, and training is shifting to simulate spiderweb-style attacks. But gaps remain. Legal constraints, uneven technology, and the sheer speed of drone swarms mean the threat is real. Operation Spiderweb proved that warfare has shifted. For minimal cost, drones can achieve strategic effects once reserved for entire air forces. And unless the US adapts quickly, in law, in technology, and in training, our own bases could face the same nightmare. If you found this breakdown useful, hit like so more people can discover serious analysis like this. Subscribe to Learning Military for deep dives into strategy, technology, and history every week. And if you value this kind of research, please consider leaving a super thanks to support the channel directly. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which part of Spiderweb surprised you the most? Was it the deception, the AI, or the sheer scale of destruction? Drop your comments below. This is Learning Military. Until next time, stay informed, stay sharp, and stay ahead. Thanks for watching.